This is the Bat Flip Podcast. Now here's your host, Damien, David, and Matt. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Bat Flip Podcast. Damien here with Matt, and today we're just going to have a little short, quick episode. There hasn't been too much happening in the baseball world outside of a couple major blow-up games from a couple teams, but we're going to highlight some injuries that have happened over the past week. Of course, we've had a spree of call-ups as the deadline for the prospect pick incentive is coming up pretty soon. And then we have some other names optioned or DFA'd. Then we kind of want to highlight some of the fast starts that have happened from a couple of the guys who either we picked for certain things or just highlight good performances or bounce back so far. And then, of course, we'll wrap up with Player of the Day / Player of the Week at the end. We are missing David tonight, so I hope everything's going well with him. He's dealing with some personal stuff. Hope all ends up well on that side. And then Matt, welcome here. How was your Easter?
It was good. Just went down to the lake and ate a lot of food. I had like a pound of brisket that my uncle smoked, so that was pretty good. Trying to get back on the diet a little bit this week. It's been all these trips and stuff have been taking a toll on me a little bit, but yeah, that was good, and had a pretty good week. Just hanging out and obviously having to work, but it's been a good week, and hadn't been able to watch a ton of baseball, but I've watched my Braves a little bit, and they're playing a little bit better now, so that's been good. But yeah, how was your week, Damien?
It was been all right. I didn't really do much this weekend other than kind of hang out a little bit, watch some WrestleMania. Saw the GOAT win his 17th. That was pretty exciting. But yeah, other than that, really not much. I watched my basketball team just get absolutely destroyed in the first game of the playoffs.
Wasn't as bad as was it the Grizzlies?
The
Thunder
Grizzlies
won by like
Thunder.
51 points or something. Yeah, wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that
close.
bad, but it was bad. Hopefully that turns around there for old Luka and the Lakers tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of been a little bit of a weird week. I mean, I've watched a good bit of baseball, but it just one of those weeks where you've been kind of busy and some stuff has kind of missed it. So, and really it's just one of the weird middle of the first month weeks that just not much has happened. I think we've kind of got a lot of the early season stuff out. I see what you did there with can't spelling out ant, like Anthony Edwards. Too soon. We don't need to talk about that, Adam. Okay. Leave it alone. Just because Ty Jerome can drop 30 in game 1 of the playoffs, we don't need to talk about that. But yeah, it's been a weird week. So not really much to talk about, but we do have some injury concerns that had happened. Because today, really, Spencer Strider decided he wanted to, after just coming back, he wanted to pull his hamstring while playing catch for no reason, really. And then last night in the Houston-San Diego game, we had a really scary incident at first base with Luis Arias and Mauricio Dubon colliding. Looked like Luis Arias was knocked out, had to get stretchered off the field to a local medical facility. Ended up getting back to the ballpark later that night, but he has held over there and got put on the 7-day concussion IL. Seems like everything's going to be all right, but still a really scary scene there. And then we had a couple between Jose Siri and Blake Treinen and some other injuries there. But Matt, what do you think about Strider and Arias' injuries?
Well, the first thing I saw was Strider goes on the IL, and I said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
But obviously a hamstring pull is something that he'll come back from fairly soon. It really sucks because he had just made his first start back in the big leagues last week, and he did okay. The stamina is not really there yet. His velocity kind of dropped in the 4th and 5th innings after he got up a little higher in pitch count. But, I mean, he still had a good game, 5 innings, 2 runs in his return. And it was a loss, but, that was because the Braves decided they didn't want to hit, kind of like how they've done a pretty good bit this year. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see him go back on the IL. I don't know exactly how long it's going to be because, he had gotten built up late, made 1 start. I don't know how the previous injuries are going to affect his build up coming back from this. I'm sure he'll probably be out a couple weeks, and then I mean, you never know with hamstring strains, but I can't imagine that he has a really bad hamstring strain from playing something he did playing catch.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. And then that Arias injury was really scary. That collision at first base. I mean, that was really rough. I'm not a huge Arias believer, but that's going to hurt the Padres losing him. I mean, that's kind of a position they're not super deep at is first base. So I mean, it's just not a very deep team in general, but that definitely hurts San Diego.
Yeah, it was really scary. Kind of seeing that back. I wasn't able to watch it live, but all the replays I showed were pretty scary. Um, and you just hate to see it's one of those weird plays. Like nobody did anything wrong. It was a first baseman came in for the ball. Second baseman's trying to run over there, and at the same time he's getting the balls running into the base path and the collision there. So I'm glad everything worked out, and that Arise looks to seem healthy at least. Jose Siri has a fractured tibia. Um, Seems like that came kind of a little bit out of nowhere. I didn't really see a play where he got injured, so I'm sorry, but I don't watch a
Yeah,
ton of Mets games either.
yeah,
And then Trinan's forearm strain is something I kind of expected something was up because he hadn't thrown in a game in about a week. And then he was warming up, and they got within like one batter of him coming in, and then he didn't have to. And then the next day, Evan Phillips, who they had said the day before was going to have another rehab game, was randomly in Texas. I kind of figured Trinan something was up there. So seems like it's low grade, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for at least a month or so with how cautious LA usually is with these type of injuries. So
yeah, yeah. I think Siri hurts the Mets a little bit just because they don't really have a lot of depth in center field.
yeah, who's playing
Um,
center? Who are they playing in center?
Probably is it Tyrone Taylor that they have,
I think
or is
it's
it Blake?
Tyler.
Yeah,
No, Perkins is the
Perkins. That's the guy. They're
he's
both
with
former Brewers, I think. Um, but yeah, I think
Ty Taylor. It's Taylor.
it's Tyrone Taylor. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's not a great option, and I think they
yeah,
like Siri's speed and power potential, and Tyrone Taylor's just kind of a guy. So
yeah,
that's definitely not a great thing for the Mets. And of course, Blake Trinan, the Dodgers pitching bullpen is pretty deep. So
yeah.
losing Blake Trinan hurts. I mean, he's a really consistently good piece for them, and forearm strains are never not tricky. I mean,
Right.
they're always, you worry a little bit anytime you hear forearm strain, even if they say it's a low grade and it's not a big deal and he'll be back soon. Forearm strain is tricky. I mean, that could be a precursor to worse things. So hopefully it is just a minor forearm strain and Blake Trinan can come back very soon. But I'm not. Um, that's not a very reassuring thing to hear when he goes on the aisle with a forearm strain.
Yeah, not at all. Okay, so let's move over to some of the call-ups that we've had happen. Like I mentioned, the prospect pick incentive date is coming up. I think it's really soon actually. So you're going to start seeing more of these prospects get called up. Just the past couple days, we've had a couple big ones. Nick Kurtz with the Oakland Sacramento Athletics, whatever you want to call him at this point. He was their 4th round pick just this last season in the 2024 draft. He got called up per Fangraphs. He's the 25th overall ranked prospect. This year so far in the minor leagues, he had in 20 games, he had hit 7 homers, a 321 batting average, 385 on base, 655 slugging with a 142 WRC plus. His fit is a little weird there because he is a first baseman and they've had Tyler Soderstrom who has been crushing the ball himself. So it seems like some sort of they're going to play first / DH and then Rooker's most likely going to play the outfield full time.
Wow.
Which I don't really love that, but they kind of don't have any other option there because Butler and Lawrence kind of have to, or Lawrence
Blade.
Butler.
Lawrence
Well, I said
Butler and JJ
Lawrence
Blade.
and Butler. Yeah. JJ Blade is going to be center field. That means Butler and Rooker are going to be your corner outfielders at this point. And Andujar is probably going to go to the bench. And then you have Soderstrom and Kurtz probably mix matching at first base / DH.
Yeah, I really like Nick Kurtz. I was a big fan of him in the draft. I think sometimes that first baseman that can do everything is can be underrated. he had some really good comps from you know, from the prospect people when the draft happened. I mean, people were calling him Jim Tomey with defense. I mean, that was kind of his comp. So
Okay.
I really like Nick Kurtz. I think that the Soderstrom thing is interesting. Obviously, he came up as a catcher, so I wonder if they might try to get him behind the plate a little bit. Obviously, they have
Yeah.
Langoliers there as well, but I don't know that that's something they want to do. Soderstrom's been killing the ball, and I really just I don't know what Brent Rooker's outfield. I mean, he hasn't played the outfield in a couple years. I can't imagine that
Probably a good
he's
reason
not the
for it.
yeah. I was gonna say he's not the most athletic guy. So can you stick him in left field and be okay? I guess we're about to find out. So,
Yeah.
but
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'm excited to see the bat, obviously,
yeah,
especially in that ballpark where the stuff has been flying. I think
yeah,
it's going to make their offense a lot better.
yeah. And I'll tell you what, the A's have had a good start to this season. I
Yeah.
mean, they really have. It hadn't been, they're not leading the division. They're not, looking like a playoff team. But I mean, when you talk about the way that the A's reputation's been for the last several years, I mean, they're 10 and 12. They have a 16% chance to make the playoffs per Fangraphs. I mean, that is not zero. That's something you see happen sometimes. 16% end up being a team that makes the playoffs. So definitely, definitely a team with a good, with a pretty good core. And when you start getting these guys up, Soderstrom and the way Rooker's been, he's there long term, and Kurtz at first base, if he comes up and hits, like that is a really solid core with their offensive group. I think the pitching is something they're going to have to continue to work on. They brought in Severino and Springs this offseason. They've both done pretty well. Uh, but we'll see. I mean, that's not longer term option, not long term solutions. They don't really have many farm pieces in the pitching area, so that's something they'll have to figure out. But I like some of their young pieces in their lineup, and when they transition into going to Vegas, they could end up being a pretty good team.
Yeah, I think they're a really, really interesting one to pay attention for. But another one that we had, which was another big one, was Agustin Ramirez, catcher for the Miami Marlins. He was the return last year from the Yankees in the Jazz Chisholm Jr. trade. Has skyrocketed up the Fangraph prospect rankings. He is 40th overall there. So far in his minor league season in 19 games in AAA. He had 3 homers, 12 RBIs, a 254 average, 313 on base, 479 slugging, a 112 WRC plus. Last year, between all the minor leagues, he had a 134 WRC plus with 25 homers and 22 steals as a catcher. He has made his major league debut today. He already actually got a hit tonight. So it's going to be big. I mean, this is kind of one of the big first prospect call-ups for the Marlins here to try and see one of their futures from their kind of sell-off over the last couple years.
Yeah, I like Augustin Ramirez. He's he can catch some. Now he's probably more of a first base DH type. But he's starting off. They're going to let him catch some. He's done that in the minors. He's been his AAA so far hasn't been quite as good as it was last year. Last year was really good in AAA, but he hadn't been quite the same as he was in AAA last year. But he's been good. And for the Marlins, they're in a situation where call him up and see what he can do. If he doesn't have a great month, then you can send him back down. I mean, there's no downside to it really. It's not a competitive team. He's not going to be pressing and being criticized. There's not a lot of eyeballs on them this year. So, I mean, I think it's a good chance for him to get a little bit of seasoning at the big league level, see what he can do, and see if the Marlins have a piece for the future here.
Yeah, you weren't going to let like Nick Fortes or Liam Hicks stop you from trying to figure out if this guy can be a part of your future. So I'm interested. I'm really interested to see what happens here. But another one we had was the Minnesota Twins called up Luke Keeschel, a second base middle infield prospect, 51 overall in the Fangraphs rankings. So far in AAA this year, in his 14 games, he only had a 102 WRC plus, a 261 average, 379 on base, only a 348 slugging. But last year in the minors, he had 15 homers, 48 RBIs, 23 steals, a 157 WRC plus with a 303 average, 420 on base, 483 slugging. So off to a little bit of a slow start this year, which makes it a little interesting that they did a call up. But the Twins have been ravaged kind of with minor injuries or just ineffective play so far
Yeah.
from their infield. So maybe just trying to see if they can get a little bit of a spark here with Keishel.
Yeah, Keishal's a good prospect. He's been a fantastic hitter throughout his minor league career so far. 2024, he had a 157 WRC plus. Now that was in high A and double A. So he's only played 14 games above double A in his career. And so this is fairly aggressive, but his plate discipline numbers were very good at triple A. He wasn't striking out a lot. He was walking a ton. So he didn't seem overwhelmed at all by the higher level pitching. He probably had a little bit of bad luck on barreling balls or something. I'm sure it's not, I would be too worried about the slugging percentage. Just as a guy who's going to have an average to above average power, that's usually a pretty constant thing for a guy. A lot of times, what you would worry more about is the the just being overwhelmed at the top in the top of the minor league system by advanced pitching and striking out a ton or something. But in the big leagues, he only got 13 plate appearances, but it's been pretty good so far, and definitely an interesting guy. His projections are really good. In fact, Zips projects him for a 124 WRC plus and like 1.5 WAR this year. So I don't know. The defense could be a concern, but I think this is a good call up by the Twins. I mean, they really need a spark right now. They've struggled so far, and I believe there's like 7-13 right now, which is not good.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how they play this because you have Edward Julian up, you have Brooks Lee up, you have Willie Castro, who's been playing third base, some second base for him. Obviously, Carlos Correa, who's off to a slow start this year as well. So just kind of weird. I mean, especially since Ty France is kind of locked down first base, and that doesn't give Julian or anybody another option over there. You're going to have like Lee or Keishel or Julian, odds are 1 to 2 of those guys on the bench every day, which might hurt a little bit more of their, I wouldn't say development, but still, like it's going to be interesting to see how they balance out the playing time with all of those guys up.
Yeah, and Ty France, I don't think is untouchable. He has not been very good. So if you platoon him a little bit or something too, I mean, he's got a 98 WRC plus, which isn't the end of the world, but he's playing first base, so you really need better than that at first base.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a big power guy himself, anyways.
No.
Let's stay in the American League Central, and let's jump over to the Chicago White Sox, talking about catcher Edgar Cuero, who was the return in the Lucas Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez trade to the Angels a couple years ago. Per Fangraphs, he's the 59th ranked prospect overall. This year in the minors, he had in 15 games, he had 1 homer, 333 average, 444 on base, 412 slugging, a 135 WRC plus. Through the minors last year, which was double and triple A, he had 16 homers, 70 RBIs, a 280 average, 366 on base, 463 slugging with a 136 WRC plus. So about the numbers he'd been putting up last year were so far his start was pretty consistent. Their catching situation is bleak as well. They have like Corey Lee and Matt Theis, I think, are their catchers right now. So getting Cuero up there, obviously they traded for Kyle Teal as well, but this is hey, see if you have something in Cuero first, and then if not, you know what you can make your decision there with Teal, waiting in the wings as well.
Yeah, Edgar Cuero's been really good in the minors so far. He's had a 135 WRC plus this year. Last year was really good and across double A and triple A. The plate discipline's good. He's another one of these guys, a little bit like the Augustin Ramirez from the Marlins, where it's if he can catch, he's going to be really good. If he doesn't catch, that's going to be the question with him. I think the bat's probably going to play pretty well. If he doesn't catch, then you'll end up with a guy that plays DH first base, and hopefully the bat really takes off and he can play there too. But good guy, good trade for the White Sox. I mean, they gave up a half season of Giolito and a half season of less than a half season after the fact, but a half season of both of those guys for Edgar Cuero, who has really shown to be a high level prospect. So good for them. And I think you look at Kyle Till, he hadn't had a great start to his AAA season after struggling in AAA last year. So it's definitely a good idea to give Cuero the shot at the big leagues. And Kyle Till can play every day at AAA now with Cuero not taking up time. He can catch every day, and that's a big
Yeah.
deal. So I really like this move by the White Sox. They need to see what they've got in these guys. It's time.
Yeah, it is time, and they're someone who needs to start seeing a little bit more of a turnaround moving forward, and get the Chris Getz vision, what he wants his team to be. So let's move over to talking about the Tampa Bay Rays now, where they called up outfield prospect Chandler Simpson, per Fangraph 78th ranked overall prospect. This is a guy who's known to be probably the fastest guy in all of baseball, even when he was in the minor leagues. He's not going to offer much power. Obviously, this year in only 17 games, he had 8 stolen bases already, but only a 76 WRC plus. But last year, 2024, in 110 games, he had 104 stolen bases while batting 355 with a 410 on base with a 140 WRC plus. If he could just get on base at all, he's going to be a nightmare. But he doesn't have much, he doesn't walk very much. His plate discipline is very much contact, trying to use that speed, but he doesn't really slug the ball either. So it's a lot of back to the pitcher or infield singles that he's going to have to kind of beat out.
Yeah, the thing about Chandler Simpson that's really interesting is that he obviously he steals bases like crazy. I mean, last year in the minors, he stole 104 bases.
Yeah.
Which is just nuts. But the thing with him is we've seen some of these guys before, right? Like we saw Esteury Ruiz do some similar things in the minors. We saw Billy Hamilton back in the day do a lot of these things. The difference here is that Chandler Simpson just doesn't strike out much. I mean, his contact rates are really good. I mean, last year in the minors, an 8.5% K rate. He actually walked more than he struck out. Now, his walk rate's not super high, but 8.5%. If he can do that at the big league level, that'll play. I mean, get him on base because he's going to hit. If he strikes out that little, he's going to hit 300. And if he can get up a 350 on base, he'll steal 100 bases. I mean, this is the type of guy who can come out there. I mean, he's already stolen. He's played 2 games. He's already stolen 1. And if he can put up a league average stat line at the plate, and I think and steal bases. I mean, his speed's got to play defensively too. I don't really know too much about his defense, but you would think that him, playing center field, that speed's going to make him really good. Even if he takes bad jumps, it's going to make him. He's going to be good. So definitely, I definitely like Chandler Simpson. I think he's got a potential to be a really good player, really a throwback player, man. He's only got 1 home run in his entire minor league career. So I'm definitely interested to see. He's going to be an intriguing and unique player to watch.
Yeah, this is something the Rays really haven't done before. Have a player like this, so I'm intrigued to see how that goes and if they're quick to move off of him or what. But it's going to be really interesting, really, really interesting to see. So that kind of does it for our call-ups at this moment. If we missed anyone, let us know. I think we kind of got most of them at the moment as of recording it, but it's pretty interesting. So let's talk about the players that have either been demoted or DFA'd. And this one that we're going to talk about first is probably the real reason why David isn't on the show tonight, and that is because Matt Shaw got optioned. He just couldn't bear to listen to us talk about Matt Shaw. But in 18 games so far this year, he had a 64 WRC plus, actually negative WAR. Was striking out 26% of the time, only 172 average, 294 on base, 241 slugging. I still think that they should have given Shaw more time up at the major league level before they made this decision, especially when your best option is John Birdie and a 40-year-old Justin Turner to play third base, who was already declining there over the past few years. So I don't love the fact that they're kind of giving up on Shaw at this moment, but at the same time, you kind of needed to let him get a little bit more confidence in here in the minor league level.
Yeah, the thing with Matt Shaw is we talked a little bit earlier about guys looking overwhelmed versus not looking overwhelmed. Well, Matt Shaw's looked overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's striking out a ton. That's not been a part of his game in the minor leagues. His expected slugging percentage via StatCast is 256, which would be that's literally like one of the worst numbers I've ever seen. So his expected WOBA is 272. He has not been unlucky. He's just performed poorly at the plate, and he has been pretty good defensively at times. Now his defensive numbers on the season weren't great, but I mean, I think part of that's just small sample size. He needed to go to the minor leagues and work a little bit more. He hadn't been, he hadn't played a ton of games. He's still young, so I think definitely something to or he probably needs just a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Maybe he can figure it out. I don't know that the Cubs were fully planning on him being their everyday guy, and then he just kind of blew him away late last season. And I thought they felt like they might need a little bit more time with him before he just had a great tear down the stretch and had a good spring training and everything. And
Yeah.
they probably should have signed somebody, but
Well, I mean, they were in the Bregman
they were
talks
in the
for
Bregman talks a
until
little
D.
bit, and
Yeah.
I think they probably would have been wise to sign somebody, at least some insurance for that. So
Yeah.
definitely, definitely unfortunate. I know the Cubs fans were really big on Matt Shaw, but we'll see. Maybe he can figure it out in the minors and come back. He's still a really good prospect. I still think he's got
Yeah.
potential. So
Still plenty of time to figure that out. Let's jump over to talking with the Kansas City Royals and MJ Melendez, who has been off to a horrendous start this year. I don't know if you're looking at his page, but do you want to take a guess on what MJ Melendez's
I have his
WRC
page up.
plus?
I know.
His WRC plus this year is -2.
Yeah,
That
it's not
is
good.
that is not good. He was once a really heralded prospect, like top 30 overall by Fangraphs, and he has just never been able to live up to that. He was a catcher at that point, but has been transitioned to outfield now. His highest WAR in a season is .2, and that was in 2023 in 148 games. Every other season that other than that has been negative WAR.
Yeah.
He is bad defensively, and he has just never figured out his swing in the major leagues. Really struggled this year. There was some high praise. He had made a bunch of swing changes and it looked pretty good coming into the year. But this just proves that you don't know until regular season games start what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now he is only 26. I mean, there still is time for him to figure something out, but you're going on 3 full years, and this is a start to a 4th year where he just hasn't been able to figure anything out yet.
Yeah, well, part of the when MJ Melendez was coming up, part of the draw to him as a prospect was that he was catching.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big deal, and had like this elite raw power for a catcher. And if he ever figured out just to make enough contact, and and to get to that power, he'd be really good for a catcher at the plate, like a 110, 120 WRC plus guy behind the plate, which is really good. But the Royals never really gave him a chance to be behind the plate. They have Salvador Perez, who is a franchise icon that they didn't want to move off the catching spot. So they put Melendez in the outfield, where he's just not really athletic enough to play out there. It took him a while to get used to it. It's not really his thing. It's not what he's was known for. And then the bat just never really played. Some of the concerns about his contact never materialized, and he just never really. I mean, his rookie year, he had a 97 WRC plus, which for a rookie is, I mean, you can work from that, right? But he just never really took another step. And I mean, with his lack of value defensively, lack of value, at base running, it's really going to be tied in the bat, and he just hasn't been good. The Royals are now in a position where they can't give players time because the Royals are trying to win right now. So it was time to send him to the minors and hope those swing changes maybe just getting a little bit more reps with those swing changes can help him. But this just seems like one of those guys that just ended up not working out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but
yeah.
So let's stay in the division again and go talk about the Cleveland Guardians now, who today DFA'd Tristan McKenzie. Still only 27 years old. McKenzie, when his first year in the league, he looked pretty solid, and then the second full year in 2022, 191 innings, a 2.96 ERA, peripherals in the mid threes, a 3.4 WAR. You kind of thought it was the start that, hey, maybe the Guardians had done it again with another pitcher. And then ever since then, he has just really tailed off. 2023, 5.06 ERA, peripherals pretty dang close to that. 2024, again, 75 innings, 5.11, bad peripherals again, -1 WAR last year. This year, again, just off to a horrendous start, 11 ERA with an 11 expected ERA.
Yeah, and he was coming out of the bullpen this year to start
the
season.
Yeah, just it looks like something has gone wrong there.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a change of scenery guy or if this is just someone who really really just isn't going to work out as a major league pitcher.
Yeah, I mean this is one of those players that the injuries just took their toll, and he's just not the same. He's
Yeah.
had a lot of injuries. He had a lot of injuries before he came up to the big leagues. And it's just never materialized for him after the injuries. He had that great first year, or the great, rookie season, partial season in 2020, got a lot of hype. Then 2022 was so good, but the injuries since then have just been a problem, and he just never has been the same. So, um, maybe he can get healthy sometime, but I don't. I wouldn't trust that. I wouldn't bet on that. When it comes to a pitcher who's had this kind of history and just seems cooked at this point. But you never know. He might end up going to somebody's AAA system and becoming a good reliever or something. That's very possible, especially if you can increase his velocity a little bit in the bullpen.
This is going to be a guy that like the Brewers or Rays just turn around and figure out, isn't it?
It could be.
Like totally. Like I don't think many teams would do it, but like the Brewers, the Rays, those are like, kind of like the teams that
Yeah.
would do this. Like the Brewers have made Quinn Priester look good so far. Like they might be able to do that with anybody at this point.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to talking in the National League West now. And the Arizona Diamondbacks optioned Jake McCarthy just a little bit ago. McCarthy's had a couple good seasons, a couple down seasons in the majors so far. Last year had a 110 WRC plus, a 3 WAR, 25 stolen bases. Not really a power hitter, but plays a really good center field. And had a 285 average, 349 on base, 400 slugging. But this year has been off to a horrendous start, a negative 17 WRC plus. He was like 0 for his first 30 or something, 35. He's got a couple hits then, but really just kind of struggling. This feels like hey, just go down, kind of get a little bit more confidence, come back up a little bit later in the season, and we'll give you a chance to make a roll at some point. But they just need a little bit more. I mean, they've been playing good.
Yeah.
But the National League West is just a juggernaut at this point.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember that this is a team that has 3 good outfielders other than Jake McCarthy. I mean, they got Gurriel playing left. They've got obviously Corbin Carroll in right, but they got Alec Thomas too, who's a similar type of player, great defender, playing center, and he's had a pretty good start to the season. So it was one of those things where you kind of sit back and say, look, Jake McCarthy has really had such a horrible start. You've got other guys you're going to play over him. See if he can figure it out. And I think that's going to be the case with him. Last year he had a 349 on base percentage and 110 WRC plus. He's pretty good defensively, and he obviously steals a lot of bases. So I mean, he's definitely a useful player if he can find that form again. But it was such a bad start. It's worth sending him down and trying to figure it out instead of. I mean, he's not gonna break out of this slump by sitting on the bench and playing once a week, which is what he was going to be doing with Alec Thomas starting in center most of the time. So I think it's worth trying to see in AAA if he can figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. You just like you said, they're just good, and if you have Thomas who has a hot bat at this moment, you got to give him the playing time. So let's talk about some players who are having really, really good starts. Again, and really, this is kind of just we wanted to highlight a few names that we haven't talked about much, or that we kind of expected to do something. I guess we'll just an example. Like, let's talk about Aaron Judge, right? We know how good Aaron Judge is. Like, he's been incredible, but so far this year he has a 243 WRC plus. In 22 games, he has 2 WAR. He's on pace for over 50 homers again. Like, his 62 game or his last 162 games, he has like 60 homers with like a 320 average and 159 RBIs or something. Like, we talk about how good Aaron Judge is, but like, I still think at times we need to just keep mentioning that, like, this guy's incredible in what he's doing right now. And like, he needs to get more fanfare, I guess. Like, I know he still gets talked about, but like, this is one of the best hitting runs we've seen in Major League history.
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, he has cut his strikeout rate down substantially this year. So far, he's gone from in 2023 when he did deal with some injuries that year. He had a 28% strikeout rate, and that was kind of around his career normal, right? Well, last year in his incredible 218 WRC plus season, he had a 24% strikeout rate. So he cut it by 4%. Well, so far this year, he's cut it by another 4%. Now he's cut his walk rate too. So he's just probably been a little bit more aggressive and making more contact. But I mean, he's been insane. I mean, a 495 on base percentage so far, 707 slug. Now he's got a 455 batting average on balls in play. So he's probably not going to keep up that average number, but I mean, he hits the ball so hard, he's gonna run a high batting average on balls in play. And he's not like a purely fly ball, hit the ball in the air every time guy. That usually is he hits a lot of liners, a lot of hard grounders. That usually leads to a higher batting average on balls in play. So I don't think that number is going to be bad. I think he's still going to be high up in the league in that number, but it's not going to be at this level. But I mean, his projected numbers are like line up perfectly with his current numbers. In fact, his expected slugging percentage is 60 points higher than the 707 slugging percentage he currently
That's
has.
crazy.
I mean, the expected average is lower, but I mean, the expectation is he probably has more homers in there and more doubles that he's just been kind of unlucky on. So, I mean, Aaron Judge, man, like, I don't know what else you can say about him. He's going to put up another 10 more season if he stays healthy. I mean, it's nuts.
It is. It's incredible what this guy's doing right now, and it's going to go down as one of the greatest stretches of all time. So let's talk about the guy that I picked to be my MVP again this year, and that is Fernando Tatis Jr. This year so far, he has a 209 WRC plus, a 1.9 WAR, batting 358, 436 on base, 691 slugging, walk and strikeout rate identical at 12.8. 8 homers, 7 stolen bases. He has a chance to be close to a 50-50 guy, if not 50-50, this year as well, at the pace he's at. He had that little scare with the shoulder in Sacramento that one time, but he looks fully healthy from that. And that Sunday night baseball game, he basically just took it over. Like homers, I think he tripled in that game as well. He had a nice sliding catch, and as he's sliding, almost throws the guy out at first for a double play. Like, he's playing out of his mind right now. And it's good to see that this is like level of his 2021 season again. Like, we're finally seeing the fully healthy after the steroid issue, after the shoulder injury, getting the surgery, like after his other stuff that has happened, you're finally starting to see it come back around.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget Fernando Tatis Jr. is only 26 years old because he's been in the big leagues for so long, but he came up as a 20-year-old. And the thing to look at with him is this reminds me a little bit of that Acuna season a couple years ago, the MVP season, because he's kind of fully over the injuries now that he had, and he's cut his strikeout rate by 10% so far. Now it's early. We don't know if that's going to keep up, but I mean, it looks fairly real, and just he's got so much raw power that he's finally kind of tapping back into this year. They found his defensive home where he's really good. He steals bases. There's not much to not like about this guy. He's one of the players that this is one of the superstars of the game, and he's finally fully showing it so far this year. And I think he's gonna have a career season this year going forward.
And I think that the plate discipline numbers aren't going to stay this level.
No, but they'll be better than they have been.
I think they're going to be better because they're starting to see that this is the maturation and getting to this point where he's going to probably walk more because he's not going to get as many pitches to hit, and therefore also drops his strikeout rate. I don't think he gets back to the 28% that he was in 2021. So I think he'll be probably around the
18, 19.
Yeah, 18, 19. I mean, he was at 22 last year, so I think 18, 19, you could easily see that. And if he could jump his walk percentage to up to 10 or 11, I mean, that's very sustainable as well. So let's stay in the National League West and talk about a guy who had a horrendous start to the 2024 season, was dealing with his own shoulder injury. And then in the second half of the year, really kind of took off. And then now we're kind of seeing that, hey, it looks like he's fully healthy. And that's Corbin Carroll with the Arizona Diamondbacks. This year so far in 22 games, he has a 1.7 WAR, a 182 WRC plus, 323 batting average, 394 on base, a 645 slugging, 7 homers on his own, 4 stolen bases. Play discipline a little bit worse. I mean, 25% strikeout rate, which is not something he's really known to have that high, and walk rate a little bit lower than normal, but he just looks like he's crushing the ball again.
Yeah.
He looks like he's fully healthy. He looks like he's confident again. He could fully trust his shoulder, and is just. I mean, he's only 24 years old too. Like Corbin Carroll is back to being the star we all thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I mean Corbin Carroll last year dealt with that shoulder injury, and it really does seem like the problem was the injury because his exit velocities were down last year. His hard hit rate was his hard hit rate was kind of in line, but the the average exit velocity was lower.
Yeah.
The contact rates weren't as good. He was hitting the ball on the ground a lot. Like you could tell he wasn't the same. This year so far, his hard hit rate's way up. He's barreling the ball a lot more. His expected numbers are really, really good. I think you're just seeing a guy that he's already hit 7 homers. I mean, he's hitting the ball harder than he ever has. I think that's just the showing how he's healthy. And
Yeah.
it's hard to believe last year he still put up 4 wins above
Yeah,
replacement.
I was gonna say,
regardless of just that atrocious start. I mean, he had a torrid second half. I mean, this is just carryover. So I
yeah.
really feel like Corbin Carroll is back and a candidate to win the MVP and really be a big help to the Diamondbacks this year.
And I don't like that both the guys we just talked about are in my division.
Well, you'll get over it.
Yeah, I guess let's stay in the division real quick and talk about a pitcher that signed pretty late in the offseason. And we were very speculative of what this guy was going to be like. We told him that when he got the qualifying offer, he probably should have just taken it. Went out and ended up getting a decent deal from the San Diego Padres there. But Nick Pivetta so far this year has done everything to prove us wrong. Which isn't very hard to do. But in his 4 games so far, 23 innings, he has a 157 ERA, a 262 expected ERA, a 216 FIP, 310 xFIP, almost 1 win above replacement so far. The big thing is his walk rate is under 2 so far. His strikeouts aren't quite to the level they have been. It's only at 9.39 per 9, but the walk rate is really that. And then the home run rate. 0.39 home runs per 9. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of regression of that aspect, a little bit come back to the means, but he's also only giving up or ground ball rates to 37%, which is a little bit lower than his career average, but
it's higher than it has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, higher than it has been when he was in Boston.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nick Pivetta has been very good so far this year. I think the big thing with him is, the last few years with Boston, he had a really high hard hit rate against them. You like the plate discipline stuff where he's getting a lot of strikeouts. He's not walking a ton of guys. But then you look at his hard hit rate, like 2022, his hard hit rate was 45%. That would be like elite for a batter. And this year it's down to 35%. So he's keeping the ball off the barrel. The barrel rate's the lowest of his career so far, except for a small sample size of 2017, which was his rookie year. I really like what we've seen from Nick Pivetta so far. I think he's going to have a good year. The Padres have done this with pitchers. I mean, they've done a great job. I mean, you think about Michael King as a transitioned reliever that came in here, and they really developed him. You think about Joe Musgrove really blossomed when he got to San Diego. They've done a good job bringing in these guys and making them better. So I think that Nick Pivetta is another example of that, and he's having a good year. Oh, Seth Lugo's another one that's kind of similar.
Lugo.
Like he was kind of a starter reliever. He'd gone back and forth, and he goes to San Diego and rebuilds himself. So I think this is definitely a sign of things to come. I don't think he's going to keep up a 157 ERA all year, but I think he'll end up having a really solid year and probably the best of his career.
Yeah, I was trying to find something. He's added some induced vertical break this year to his pitches.
Nice.
Which if you guys don't know what induced vertical break is, it basically just means that like, does your ball drop as much as it's expected, or does it like stay on a more straighter plane? And like if you get to 1920 induced vertical or inches of induced vertical break, it's pretty good. And he's added a little bit this year to a lot of his pitches, really. So I think this was a concerted effort by Ruben Niebla from the pitching coach there, he's fantastic. He was with Cleveland for a long time in their pitching lab as well. So I think he's just kind of figured a little thing out, and it's really helping kind of get Pivetta to that level, which a lot of people thought He just needed that little tweak on a couple of those pitches to make them that, because he's always kind of been a stuffed darling a little bit. So he's finally putting it together and proving it. So let's go to talk about Jesus Luzardo with this will be our last one before we transition over to players of the week and stuff. But Jesus Luzardo so far for the Philadelphia Phillies in his 5 games, 30 innings pitched, back to his strikeout rates like he were in 2022, 2023 with Miami at 10.68 per 9. His walk rate is at 2.08, which would be a career low. An ERA of 208, 264 expected ERA, a 178 FIP with a 278 expected FIP, 1.3 WAR so far. His ground ball rate is almost at a career high as well.
Yep.
He's added a sweeper this year, which has been disgusting. I saw him have that pitch against the Dodgers, which were just, they could not touch it. I mean, with the fastball, he already had a good fastball, curveball, and a slider, but this kind of just added that middle, like to all of that kind of really completed the arsenal together. That he's looked incredible. He looks healthy so far. And this is kind of what we all thought like he could be when he was with the Marlins and they were talking about trading him. I think we were all like, hey, some team, our team should obviously get on this guy, but some team's going to get a steal when they get this guy if they could figure out the health. And obviously it's only 5 games, 30 innings, so we can't sell the health, but he looks incredible and he looks healthy again.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with you. He looks great. It's gonna just be the health. I mean, if he stays healthy, he's gonna be really good. If he gets injured, then that's where the downside of this trade is. So right now, he's been excellent for them, which is very important because they've had like Aaron Nola's really struggled so far. So that's been a problem for them, and Luzardo has just kind of been the guy to come in and obviously have the start that Aaron Nola you would hope that he would have had. So, but definitely good trade so far. We'll see if he's able to stay healthy. I hope he does. I mean, I've always been a believer in Luzardo, so talent wise.
Yeah, I believe it's same. I mean, a talent has always been there. It's just been, can he stay healthy? So, all right, let's transition to talking about our player of the day and pick our player of the week, and then we'll head out of here. But looking back, April 14th, Cameron Meisner won the vote, 29 votes on that day. He got 44.8% of the vote for his 3-for-4, 2-homer, 3 RBI game versus Boston. He beat out Tatis, Austin Riley, and Tark Skubal that day. April 15th, which was Jackie Robinson Day, Tyler Soderstrom won that vote, had 19 votes on that one, 47.4%. He actually beat out Alex Bregman. Bregman had a 5-for-5, 2-homer, 4 RBI game with 2 runs there, where Soderstrom went 3-for-5 with 2 homers and 6 RBIs against the White Sox. That day, Dylan Moore and Tyler Mahle were also on the vote that day, but only got 5.3% of the vote themselves. April 16th, we had Aaron Judge winning with his 3-for-3, 1-homer, 1 RBI, I guess. He only had 1 RBI that day, which was off the homer. He beat out Cal Raleigh, which was 2-for-5, 2 homers. Bailey Falter had a 7 innings shutout, or 7 innings of scoreless ball. And then Chris Bassett had 5 innings with 10 strikeouts and 0 earned runs there. April 17th, we had Christopher Sanchez win with his 7 innings, 2 earned runs, but 12 strikeout game, beating out Kumar Rocker, Andrew Heaney, and Jake Fraley on that one. April 18th, we had Yoshinobu Yamamoto beat out Trevor Story, Carson Kelly, and Logan Webb. There was 30 votes on that one. He got 46.7% of the votes for his 7 innings, 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 10 strikeouts against the Texas Rangers. And then April 19th, we had Dylan Cruz win the player of the day with 54% of the votes from 37 votes total for his 3-for-5 with 2 homers, 4 RBI game, beating out Mike Trout, Mackenzie Gore, and Ramon Laureano for that day. The one today is not finished, so we'll just go off of those so far. So we have Cameron Meisner, and Tyler Soderstrom, Aaron Judge, Christopher Sanchez, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Dylan Cruz. Meisner was his first time on the ballot. Soderstrom was the second. Aaron Judge was third. Sanchez his first, and then Yamamoto was the second, and Cruz was his first. So I know that's kind of like a little bit long-winded right there, trying to get through all of those names and that, but any of those performances kind of really stand out to you out of Meisner, Soderstrom, Judge, Sanchez, Yamamoto, Cruz that we should pick for this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Meisner was pretty cool. He's kind of a no-name type of guy so far, and having a good day. But I want to shout out Dylan Cruz. He's really struggled so far this year. We talked about him some last week as to how bad he had been. I've never been a huge Dylan Cruz believer, but it's good to see him have a really good game, and hopefully that can spark some things going forward for him.
Yeah. So, who do you think we should pick? Who do you think should be the guy?
It's always Aaron Judge.
I kind of want to go Soderstrom. I
Go
mean,
for it,
3
man.
for
Because
5.
Soderstrom he's been great so far this year.
Yeah, I mean,
And
3 for 5, 2 homers, 6
yeah,
RBIs. That one,
that's excellent.
I think Soderstrom should get the nod for this week.
Let's give it to him.
All right, Tyler Soderstrom. And if you guys have not seen what Tyler Soderstrom's been doing so far, lock in, because the guy has been
He's been
incredible. Good. I think he's tied for the major league lead in homers.
Yeah, he's got 9. I think Cal Raleigh's also got 9.
Yeah, Cal Raleigh has 9. Tyler Soderstrom has 9, and then you have Mike Trout and Tatis with 8 there. But yeah, Soderstrom's right there. So that will wrap up this week's episode of the Bat Flip podcast. Unless you got anything else you want to wrap up on real quick.
I don't think so. I think everything has been I think we had talked about a lot today, a lot more than I thought we were going to. So
yeah.
We got the rest of April here. I think you're starting to see things kind of become real with some players who have had good starts, some players who have bad starts, but it's still early.
Yeah.
I was talking to some friends about the Braves this week, and it just kind of puts in baseball in general into perspective that we've really only played every team's played about 20 to 25 games.
Yeah. They've
really only played like an eighth of the season.
Yeah.
It's such a long season that these things that we've talked about here early in the season, things can flip on a dime. I mean, you can have 3 or 4 games in a row where you just tear the cover off the ball, and your season's now really looking really good so far. So definitely something to look out for. But yeah, it's been pretty fun so far, and hopefully, we get into some really interesting games and some stuff here soon.
Hopefully we get some more talking points over this next week to kind of give us something to fill up a little bit more there. But thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know. Follow us on all our social medias. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, what other midweek episodes or videos you would like to see. We want to bring you guys what you guys want to see. So again, thanks everyone. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we will catch you guys back on the next episode.